My name is Viviana Espan. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Ecuador. Life always has good and bad moments. Sometimes when I think about the past, I feel a deep pain. I wish things had maybe having a normal family, maybe caring parents. No, I know, but I'm sure everything has a reason. My childhood was very hard. My father was a man violent. My mother was very submissive. We had financial problems and many other things that influenced my brother and my own mental health. In my childhood, my mother used to teach me at home some vowels, some English words and stuff. I became so good at learning that with the age of 4 my mother decided to send me to school. My parents sent me to a Catholic school. My mother liked it because she wanted me to have a good faith in God and also a good education. My father also liked it because it was one of the best schools in the city where we lived and how he was always arrogant and vain. He liked to tell proudly to his friends where I was studying. From the beginning I was younger than my classmates and they used to abuse me. They used to put chewing gum on my hair and steal my things, throw my food in the trash and many other things. As she was the youngest, the school's executive director decided to take care of me. So, at halftime I didn't stay in the courtyard with the others' children. I used to spend this time in the principal's office or in the secretary of the school. By the way, as it was a Catholic school, almost all the teachers, the executive director and other directors were nuns. I started to get very close to them and they also started to love me very much, to the point of letting me keep them in their houses, that it was on the school grounds. They had their houses next to the school building, within the same perimeter of land. I was already different from the rest of my neighbors and children of my age. My parents were divorced when I was almost 8 years old and this was by far one of the most traumatic events of my life. When I spend a lot of time alone in a closed environment, my mind I start to ramble and I start thinking about things that sometimes I find answers. My mother became more religious, but she began to control a lot. Sometimes it was good and sometimes it wasn't. I grew up always afraid, insecurity and doubts. I began to appreciate quiet places, with less noise at the time but in a way that was in contact with nature. These were moments when I liked to be alone. The only place I used to find that was with the nuns. The school had a big green courtyard and I used to lie there and enjoy looking at the sky and feeling the wind covering me. It was so peaceful. The nuns appreciated me very much and I enjoyed the time I spent with them. I also felt that the only way I had to escape the problems of my home was seeking refuge in God. At the age of 12 I told my mother that I would like to stay in the convent with the nuns of my school and be one of them. My mother was upset and said she was happy I wanted to stay close to God, but at the same time I wanted to give him grandchildren one day and did not let me join the nuns. I was already in my last year with the nuns. After my mother's negative response, I decided to draw closer to God, to study and to better understand what the Bible says. After I began to read it consciously, I realized that there were many things that they did not sense, many contradictions, and in some parts it seemed that the idea was complete. So I had the need to know where the rest was and the answers to my questions that, in my opinion, were not clear or logical. I started reading books about religions and the internet too. It was a great help in the search. I found information on Judaism, Buddhism, agnosticism, Hinduism, Christianity itself and its different denominations and so on. None of them satisfied my logic. It wasn't interested in researching Islam because of all the bad things I heard about it. But in the end I decided to check Islam to see what if I treated it as my final option to try to find a logical answer. The Trinity was never clear to me. So when I started to investigate Islam, I saw the answers to many of my questions. Islam made sense to me. It answered my question about the number of gods and clearly stated in the Quran that there was only one. That answered my questions about Jesus. I understood that the Bible had been changed and was not more in its original form, and I felt that I had finally found the truth. I read briefly about Prophet Muhammad, who mercy and blessings of God be upon him, and I found him very near to Moses. For he should not believe in a last messenger of God, when he did he have the same message as all the other prophets? All of this made me feel who had finally found the true religion. I was 17 or 18 years old, I don't remember, when I told my mother who wanted to change my religion and become Muslim. I told her that I would like to go to the Islamic center in my city and learn more. My mother, she was upset and said that only Christians could live in her house and that if I was seriously thinking of changing my religion, I should leave the house. Then I told her that I was joking, to make her forget about it. She contacted my aunt and my aunt brought me a book about Islam. I read the book, which frightened me and left in my mind fears and doubts. I stopped the idea of becoming a Muslim, but I didn't want to either. I went back to Christianity because I no longer felt as comfortable as before. My mother changed her religion from Catholic to Catholic after a miracle with one of her brothers. He had cancer and the doctors said he would not live more than a week or maybe a month. 2 years had passed since then and my uncle was still with us. The day my mother decided to convert, I talked to her again about Islam and asked her to come with me to the center to clarify the doubts and fears of the book. My mother was very open that day and accepted. But that was in the morning. In the evening he returned home as an evangelical and with a strong conviction about it, and it became impossible for me to talk to her about Islam again. A few months later I found a Muslim whom I married soon after and then moved to Egypt with he. The two biggest dreams of my life were to come to the Egypt and marry a good man who would love me, take care of me, and be romantic. The charming kind of prince I'm sure all girls dream of when they are children. But I always thought that none of these dreams would be accomplished. For one, my financial situation made it impossible to travel to Egypt, and on the other hand, he did not think that the man he wished could to be somewhere in the real world, only in my dreams. God gave me everything I wanted. But honestly, I was never grateful for everything he gave me. After coming to Egypt, I was still not sure if I wanted to convert. My new husband introduced me to a wonderful lady, with a lot of knowledge, patience and faith. Her name was Raya. She helped me analyze my situation better and clarified all doubts and wrong mistakes I used to have about Islam. I finally did my Shahada on Saturday, March 30th, August 2009. I did the Shahada only because I was convinced about the existence of one God and that Muhammad, may the mercy and blessings of God be upon him, was his last messenger and prophet. But he said that I would start practicing when I felt it was the right time. They agreed with me, and at that time I had no intention of starting a real apprenticeship right away. The following Monday everything changed. My husband and we were in a very difficult situation because of me and he divorced. I felt that my world had broken into pieces. In my desperation, I didn't know who to turn to but Raya. Since that day she has been giving me support and took me as her daughter in her house. My mother used to tell me that humans never they learn until bad things happen. This is a great truth. All problems with my husband made me feel the need to seek help in Allah, God, and ask Him for forgiveness. I'm just starting the process, but I have the real feeling that I want to serve my Lord and be grateful to Him. I started to change my way of dressing and now I wear the hijab and I feel that I want to change the whole my life. I want to prove to God, to the man I love and to myself that I am a new person now. After the divorce, thank God, my husband gave me a hope that with God's help we can be together again soon. Now I need to stay strong in my religion and he needs time to forgive me. Anyway, I hope until the end this year, God give me the strength I need to accept any decision from him. It was a lesson that changed my whole life.